So lakeside living is high on your list, but you don't know about the negative parts. So I am here today because I am not the Chamber of Commerce, and I don't want you to make a costly mistake moving somewhere where you should not be, where you probably, had you known this, you wouldn't have even looked out there. And that is what we're talking about today. So today, why we're not moving to Lake Monticello. And the first one, your increased commuter time. Commuter time in Charlottesville, Albemarle is like 15 to 20 minutes. Commuter time, when you look at Lake Monticello, goes up by 25%. Your commuter time would actually be 30 to 35 minutes. Remember, there's not a lot of industry in the Fluvanna area, so more than likely, you're going to be traveling and commuting into Charlottesville or commuting into Richmond. Whichever way you're going, it's averaging for a commuter time one way, 30 to 35 minutes. So I've got a drive ahead of me, so I'm going to go ahead and go. So another part of the extended commuter time is going to be the extended gas tank filling. So here I am before we can go on, filling up the tank for you. You're welcome. Okay, so as we are driving along, I wanted to go on to our next one so we don't waste any time. Next one on our list is actually to remind you about the water. Yes, you're going to have water at Lake Monticello, but the water company is private at Lake Monticello, meaning that it's not run by the county of Fluvanna, where Lake Monticello is. The water company is called Aqua, and they have, shall we just say, they don't have a lot of supporters. They came in, they've been there for quite a while. They keep increasing the prices to the point that your average water bill is going to start at $100. So even if it's just one or two of you, your water bill is probably going to be averaging about $100. So if you have a couple, add to that a couple more people, you're probably looking at another $50 to $75 added to that. So you got to deal with Aqua. You have to deal with the water bills, but you also have to deal with the infrastructure. The infrastructure is not the greatest, and Aqua has not fixed it. So you have to recognize that you at times you're going to be without water because there's going to be a water main break. Now that's bad enough, but when the water does get turned back on, connected back on, then you have to deal with boil water advisories, which means again that if you're going to be washing your hands, if you're going to be filling up your dog water bowl, if you are going to be cooking, all of those things, anything that water is involved, you're going to have to boil it for a certain amount of time to ensure that there's no bacteria or growth in it. So number 2, water. Okay, we're out of the car. Now let's talk about number 3. But actually, before we chat about number 3, this is why I want you to reach out to me before you do anything, because you may have heard good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know. But let's chat about what you need, don't need, things like that, so you know what you're getting into. So you don't buy and make a huge mistake because you're moving to some place that you shouldn't have even looked at. Anyways, back to number 3. Number 3 on the reasons not to move to Lake Monticello is actually going to be the HOA. Lake Monticello, whether you live inside the gate or outside the gate, you must be a member of the HOA, which is normal and standard, not that big of a deal. But if you don't do HOAs, or you don't like active HOAs, it's probably not going to be a good fit for you, especially if you live right along the main circle of Jefferson Drive, because you're going to have everybody, their mother, and Karen looking at you and reporting you. My husband and I, lived in Lake Monticello, we actually lived outside the gate. So, we were fine, and we didn't get a lot of love letters, but we did get one because our mailbox had mold on it, and that was against the violation, or that was a violation against the HOA rules. So it is a very active HOA. When you sell your home, you actually have to have a full, I don't want to call it inspection, you have to have a full compliance done with your yard, front yard, side yard, backyard. So if you've been stashing all those sticks because you didn't know what to do with them, when the HOA sees it, you're going to be getting a love note, and it's going to be put in your record for the unkept backyard and your sticks. Then you're supposed to rectify it and make it good before the new owner takes over. So as a buyer, you want to know that. As a seller, just be prepared for it. The other thing, how much does it cost? That's an added fee. Currently, it's about $1,200 a year. So yeah, that may not sound like a lot to many people, but that extra $100, $125 a month can bite into your budget, especially right now with housing and grocery costs and everything else. So you just want to be aware, mandatory HOA, they're going to get their HOA fees because they can actually put a lien on your house, and you wouldn't get the lien off, so you couldn't sell your house until you pay the HOA fees. Added to that, there's a transfer setup fee. Let's say you're buying a $200,000 house and you're getting ready to go to closing. Then you get to closing and you find out there's an extra $855 on this thing. Where's that come from? That's your setup transfer fee to create a file on their computer for you as a new owner. So that is a fee you have to buy. You have to pay for. So again, HOA, active HOA. So that brings us up to number 4. Well, I mean, that's to me would be pretty obvious, and that is limited amenities. And I'm not talking about pools, tennis courts, anything like that. I'm actually talking about limited shopping, dining, and entertainment. That's what I'm talking about. So if you want to go see a movie, you're going to be going into Charlottesville. If you need to go buy, I don't know, some new clothes, you're probably going to Richmond. You're probably not going to be finding any of that kind of stuff near Lake Monticello. Limited amenities. They have what you need. There are a couple grocery stores, there are a few restaurants, a few pharmacies, but you're not going to have a lot of options. Limited amenities. Oh, so next on our list, that's going to bring up the potential for isolation. If you love that urban vibe and you love being close to the city, and just the conveniences and the lack of schlep, well, living at Lake Monticello is probably going to give you pause. That you have that potential for isolation. I'm not saying you're never going to see people and you're going to become the hermit. Although, again, no judgment. You do you. But what I am saying is recognize that you're going to be out and away from that urban environment. So if you just want to run up to Target and get who knows what, I haven't been at Target in years. Not going to happen. It's going to be a 45-minute trip one way. You're thinking about maybe going to Lowe's and picking up a beautiful new plant for the front planter, or you're going to start a garden, so you want to get some stuff to start the garden. Again, you're either going to need to go over up to Zines Crossroad, or you're going to have to come into Charlottesville. Either way, it's not going to be a quick round trip. Okay, that brings us to our next topic, and well, that is actually the natural residents. Natural residents out here in Fluvanna. Who are they? Rather, what are they? So if you are not a bug kind of person, this may get to you. The big one, snakes. It's, as you can see, Lake Monticello is, there's a lot of trees and ground cover and things like that. So there will be a lot of snakes. Most of them are actually very beneficial. Black snakes, garter snakes, there's little rat snakes and worm snakes. Those are just gross though. But there's one bad one, that's going to be a copperhead. The biggest problem is copperheads are they don't have to be agitated. They just don't like life, period. So if somebody or something is walking by, they will traditionally strike out at it. For people, not as much, but for your pet, it can lead to a very painful evening, afternoon, day at the vet, very expensive appointment at the vet. But there are people who are allergic, so yes, it actually could lead to death as well. But that's not all. Hey, and all these bugs are flying around me now. The other stuff that I want to tell you about, mosquitoes. It's lakeside living. You're going to have mosquitoes. Now, they're not like, small birds. They're not going to carry you away by any means, but they're going to be a nuisance. The other ones that we find a lot about or hear a lot about, actually, ticks. We have multiple varieties of ticks. And because there are so many deer out here in Fluvanna, many of them will drop off the deer. It's like if you don't have trees, it doesn't matter because they're going to fall off the deer in or around your yard, in the play areas, at the parks. Actually, you can even find ticks on the beach. So yeah, ticks are going to be a major one. And there's a variety of kind of ticks. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that. The other big one, spiders. Ugh. We have all the traditionals. Most of them are very beneficial, but we have some fun ones. We do have the brown recluse. We do have black widows. And normally, if you know what you're looking for and you're being safe about it, not an issue. But we have them. So that is why natural residence ends up on my list. Reason not to move out to Lake Monticello. So there you have it. You've gotten the insider view why Lake Monticello may or may not be a good fit for you. No matter where or what though, give me a call, shoot me a text, drop me an email. Let's talk about what it is you want, what you need. And you never know, it might be lakeside living is still in your future when living in Charlottesville. Let me know what you want to hear about, see about. Throw me a thumbs up if you've learned anything or that you're here to prove that I'm talking to somebody other than myself. And we'll see you next time.